joining us tonight to our Administration Finance Committee meeting. I am your chair, Jason Trombetta, today on March 15th, 2021. Notice to the members of the public, we're in virtual attendance. Just one note that Councillor Yonker is trying to be here tonight, but he has ran into a little bit of a snag and will be here a little bit shortly. So again, I am your chair, Jason Trombetta, and due to the efforts of the spread of COVID-19 to protect all individuals, the council chambers will not be open to the public. Any submissions for the matters, please email them to our clerk's department. And so I'll head it on to item number 2. Is there any change in orders of items on the agenda? Seeing none. Disclosure of conflict of interest or pecuniary interest. Seeing none. So we'll move on to number 4. We have an appointment this evening. We have Mrs. Marlene Bergsma and Mr. Fred Broekelum, if I pronounced that okay. Please bear with me. If you want to help me out with the last name there, then just speak up there, Fred, if you want. This is into regards to the Smithville Christian High School, the community facility development, developed disc golf course at the Wellandport Community Park. So thank you and welcome this evening. And from us, from council and the mayor, thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. And thank you to your IT person who did an excellent job of making it possible for us to be here and to share a little bit of information with you. I'm sharing my screen. I can't see many of you, but Councillor Trombetta, could you just wave at me to say that you can see what's on the screen there? Okay, so thank you very much. My colleague, Fred Broekelman, and I are delighted to be here. Fred is our facilities manager, and the presentation that we have for you tonight is kind of in conjunction with another 9-hole course that we are hoping to develop on our property and the property of our 2 adjacent neighbors on Town Line Road. So disc golf, often they're 18-hole courses, but just with the amount of land that we have available, our current efforts are devoted towards a 9-hole course in Smithville, running across our 3 properties. And thanks to the creativity and I think even vision of your staff, a 9-hole course in Wellandport. So I just want to take a few minutes to talk about what are the benefits of disc golf. Especially during COVID, it's a very safe sport. I mean, this is a sport that's actually even continuing to play tournaments and other events during the height of a pandemic. They've been able to get public health in various regions to say that their protocols are fine, that this sport can continue to be played. It's accessible and low cost. There are few barriers to play. That means that you don't need to, sign up for a league or have a lot of equipment or be able to get to, other facilities. People of all ages and all income levels can play with, a pair of running shoes and some discs. It's great for all ages and it's intergenerational. So you can have grandparents playing with grandchildren. You can have parents playing with their kids. You can have, it's just a really wonderful, the pace of play would change. If you have a group of seniors out, they might play differently, but you can be a grandparent playing with your grandchildren. You could play year round and it's outdoors. So it's just good air, good fresh air and exercise. And you can even play in the snow. I know of golfers who will affix a ribbon to their disc and a couple of feet of that twirly ribbon that goes on a package. It sails through the air, it dives in the snowbank, but you can still find it back. It also, when disc golf courses get installed in public parks, and St. Catharines is an example, their Centennial Park was kind of considered a dangerous area. People didn't want to go there. When you add a disc golf course, it brings people to the park with a purpose. They're moving through the facility. It deters vandalism and any other sort of maybe unsavory activity or behavior. It's low cost to install. I talked about it being accessible as in it's easy for someone to play, but it's also low cost to install a disc golf course, comparatively speaking. And over, as you have one, there's not much in the way of maintenance costs. It has future benefits. The West Lincoln Library branches, if there are courses near them, could have discs available to loan to local residents. I know that the Wellandport branch does have a sports equipment lending program, and they'd be very keen to add discs to their to the services they can provide residents. For us as a school and you as a municipality to take on something like this, it's very innovative. I think from your perspective and from ours, a partnership like this is not usual, but it's a wonderful way for us to partner together to do something good for our community, and in particular to respond to COVID. Long term, it also has the potential to attract visitors to our municipality. Disc golfers travel, play, they love having other courses to visit, and if we can say that we have 2 or maybe even more eventually in our municipality, it'll kind of put us on the map. When you think about developing a course and maybe working with sponsors to sponsor holes, it can boost local business. If we have a course in Wellandport, we could have signage from local businesses sort of inviting people to check them out, and just to know that they support a community initiative like this. I also hope that this is so successful that someday we're sitting here talking about where's our next course going to be, and could we actually have an 18-hole championship course in our municipality, which would really attract attention and attract golfers here. Why is our school interested in doing this, in particular on the municipal lands in West Wellandport rather than just on our own property? We value a meaningful partnership like this. You serve a community, and we want to be known as an institution, as an organization that serves our community. But on a more selfish level, we emphasize project-based learning at our school, and I can't think of a more exciting project for students to be involved in. We want our students to have meaningful hands-on opportunities to make something or do something or create something that actually is more than just I handed the project in, the teacher marked it, now I'm having a bonfire. So we just know that our students who in the past worked on the trail the recreation master plan, where the trails and corridors plan, still are proud of the work that they did that led to a meaningful change in our community. For our phys ed students, it's a wonderful opportunity to learn about disc golf, to try disc golf and design a course. For our shop students, it's an excellent project to learn to weld, to solve problems, to create something beautiful and meaningful for their communities. And we also, as our school rolls this kind of partnership out with you, it's a way for us to teach our students that this is what good citizenship looks like. When you have an opportunity to partner with other groups in your community, you do it. We're not just all about serving ourselves. We want to be an important part of our community. And then for the kids themselves, the idea that they're creating something that's not just for a certain demographic, that all of us need to spend all our lives being healthy and being active and playing and getting outside. This is a way to teach that to our students as well. So just a few notes about disc golf itself. It's similar to golf in the way you play. You try to have a low score, not a high score. It also has a professional association which has standards for how courses are designed, how tournaments are run. It's called the Professional Disc Golf Association. They run tournaments. Golfers are sponsored. They can have sponsors who supply them with their gear or their discs. There are broadcasting contracts. Communities use it as fundraising opportunities, and it's just growing in popularity. You don't need very much. You can see an example of what a target or basket looks like there. The discs are brightly colored. It's similar to golf in that you would have putters, mid-ranges, and drivers in your bag. And then a good course will also have signage that supports the local community and makes sure the golfers know where to go and how to enjoy the best of that game. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to just show you, this is a drawing actually that was, this is a map that was provided by your staff. And so it just shows the Wellandport Community Center land. And you kind of wonder, well, how does a disc golf course fit in that space? I had the opportunity to meet Bob Dennison there last week. Your staff has been amazing. So thank you for them and for all the energy and creativity that they bring to this. But we had, a couple of alumni of our school who are avid disc golfers just sort of say, yeah, what could work here? We do want our current students to have a hand in this, but we shared, this is what the site looks like. And they sent us, and Bob has it, a draft of what the 9 holes could look like. And I'm just going to show you 3 of them that are sort of unique. So this is the first hole. So it shows that you would park somewhere probably on the east side of the community center and make your way over to the property line here and start with your back to the road and throw your first shots up against the tennis court. So obviously it's not going to go away. You can't overthrow too much. You're going to sink the first basket, and then you would cross this little bit of a swale here and make your way to this would be the 3rd hole. And I'm sharing this one to you because it was very exciting for our alumnus. He said it's very unusual to have a par 5 course, to be able to have a hole of this distance across open field. So we think, oh, it's kind of boring. It's just an open field. Absolutely not. The golfers actually think if you've got an opportunity to throw 600 feet and you can show what you can do, that's amazing. So they were really excited about that. And then here's the final hole I wanted to show you, only because, you might wonder, are we going to end up with discs in the river? And the way this draft design is set up, you're coming down to hole 8. This is actually going to be hole 7. And you're starting with your back to the boat launch and throwing up the hill sort of towards the area where the road heads back up towards where the interior road heads back up towards Canberra Road. So that's just an example of a couple of the holes, but with the first look at it, got these alumni who are disc golfers very excited about the potential. So I just thank you for this opportunity to talk a little bit about it. I'm also very happy to answer any questions you may have. And thank you very much for your time.
Great, and thank you for your presentation, Mrs. Bergsma. It's a really nice presentation. Actually see how the course is outlined, especially with the alignment with the courses and the holes according to our landscape of Wellingport. So that's actually really nice, and thank you for that. So at this time, I'll open it up for members of committee if they have any questions for Mrs. Bergsma. So at first I see Councillor Riley, and then I see Councillor Bradrick. So, and I just also like to say thank you. Councillor Yonker has arrived, so he is in the gallery. There you are. So I'll send to you to Councillor Riley. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, thank you so much, Marlene, for bringing this forward in your presentation tonight. I definitely think this will be a sport that's truly utilized within our community, and I think it's an excellent space for it. I also think your comment there about, or your maybe even more or less suggestion about how to get local businesses involved is very, I think, an opportunity that they can actually buy a handful of these discs in with their business brand on and possibly give it out to the community, whether it's through the Santa Claus parade or, people donate, a couple bucks here and there, and you see them in store shops. So I think that opportunity is going to be incredible. And I think it's also a great way just to kind of give back to the community for those businesses that want to. I guess I don't really have a question. My only concern that I have is actually your concept number 7. And the reason I'm bringing the concern up is that I myself, I go down to that boat launch all the time in the summer months. And so that I know you have the disc going in the opposite direction of where the boats and you'll possibly canoers would be bringing their stuff around. I just have a little, and I realize staff will have probably the final say of how this goes, but I would just like to note that would be my really only concern with what you have here, is just knowing the kind of traffic and having to get my vehicle and the boat down and around, and people kind of running in between. And I know there's also some people who will like picnic in that area. So I think the overall idea of it is fantastic. I would like to see a little bit of green space maybe kept without some of the disc stuff, and maybe that concept number 7 might be part of that, just to kind of have reduce the risk of someone's windshield getting hit coming down the pathway or around, and just leave a little bit of green space with some picnic tables there that don't have to worry about ducking and covering. Like, I haven't done disc golf myself. I imagine some of these people will probably be beginners, especially in our community, and over time I'm sure they'll perfect their game. But that would be the only hiccup for me, would be concept number 7. I'd like to see if we could kind of rejig that into a different direction, would be great. Otherwise, I think this is wonderful, and I certainly look forward to being able to take my kids to it when the time comes and it's all set up and done. So hopefully we're successful with that grant application. So thank you again, and thank you, Fred. I know you may have a few words, so But nonetheless, thank you for showing up tonight. And yeah, thank you, Marlene.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. We'll move on to Councillor Bradrick.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to Marlene. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was very informative for sure. I think that this is a fantastic opportunity for Wellandport and to perhaps allow the people of the community of West Lincoln to know about this community park, the little hidden gem that it is. I love the idea of the project-based work. I certainly think that's a great learning opportunity for the students and will really engage them in that process. And as well, I just had a couple of questions around accessibility and what perhaps maybe when you did the walkthrough with Mr. Dennison, if you looked at the land with that kind of lens, as far as it being accessible, maybe not the entire grounds for people who have perhaps some physical limitations, but maybe also some other possible enhancements that could support people with other limited abilities such as sight, etc. Was that something that your team had thought about?
Not really. It is something that, you do need to be mobile. I mean, I think you could, if you had an all-terrain mobility device, but the park itself says no motorized vehicles beyond this point. So it's not like a golf cart type environment. I guess by accessible, I did not mean necessarily physically accessible, but just in terms of barriers to play, right? You don't need to be part of a hockey league or signed up or pay money to play. So I may have misrepresented the accessibility aspect of it, but it's similar to golf. You have to move around.
Well, for sure. I do appreciate that. And I did understand that you were probably more talking around accessibility as far as financial was concerned, because it wasn't really anything that was of a huge burden to someone to pick up the sport. I would just, perhaps have that in mind to look at it with that accessibility lens to, maybe it's not the entire course, but perhaps there is a couple holes that could be something a little bit closer to the walkway or the roadway that would allow people with varying abilities to participate in a couple of the holes, as well as people with sight issues. There may be opportunities, through various organizations to kind of figure that piece out. There's so much technology with smartphones, et cetera, that maybe that's something that could easily be figured out.
Yeah, I'd love to thank you for that question too, Councillor. I think, sorry, I think that like as an educational institution and challenging our students to be able to take those thoughts into consideration as you're designing, where the holes are going, I think is actually brilliant. And so even if you could provide signage which could say accessible hole, you could throw from here or from there, whatever it may be, in order to go around this spot or this spot, whatever it may be. So I think those are great challenges to put in front of our students to be able to come up creative with the course that would work for that. So thanks for that question.
Great. Okay, thank you very much, Chair. That's all I have.
Great, thank you, Councillor Broderick. I got the mayor, then followed by Councillor Gannon. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
So thank you very much for the presentation and the enthusiasm and the initiative. Really, you got your delegation has kind of put us in. You're in the driver's seat, and we're merrily going along with you. So we're very pleased about that. I think it's excellent from the perspective of utilizing what we think as well. Echo Councillor Broderick's comments that the Wellandport community area is a little gem, and we've this council through their strategic plan has committed to bringing some of those resources out to the corners of our municipality and have a fulsome, wholesome outlook to all of our community halls and the like. So this fits very well with our strategic plan, which is something that we developed together as a council in concert with with our community. So I'm pretty excited to work collaboratively with the group. So thank you very much for bringing this forward yet again. So kudos. Thank you.
Sorry,
Mr.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Ganan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to either Ms. Bergman or Bursma or Mr. Brookelman. I was sort of along the same thoughts as what Shelley had to say. I've heard you, Marlene, speak of this topic many, many times, and I know how excited you are about gradually being able to pull this together. And I think it's a wonderful idea. I'm sort of looking at it through the lens of our older adults, of course, who would also like to take part in that. So I was happy to hear you say that you actually walked the property with Bob Dennison. And so I'm wondering about your opinion, and I don't know, Fred, if you've been on that property or not, about seniors walking on that. You know, is it well, I mean, I know a lot of land looks fairly flat from the road, but until you walk it, it's hard to tell whether there are those ankle twisters or, you know, pitfalls. Is it relatively flat where you've looked at these areas?
So yes, there's not like holes to twist your ankle in, but there are swales. And I don't know if any of you remember, but there used to actually be a pony track there, and there there's a bit of an embankment. So you do kind of, at one point, you sort of a little bit of a rise and then back down the other side.
Yeah, I was thinking more about potholes, twists. So if you didn't see that kind of thing, people can navigate swales if they choose to do such a thing. I just was concerned about whether there was something from the road that wasn't obvious, and, you know, the dips and the pits and the kinds of things that we have to worry.
There's no gophers out there.
Okay, that might be a good thing. Okay, thank you. I'm just glad that you physically have been on that property so that, you know, we have an idea about that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Ganan. Councillor Jonker.
Yeah, sorry, I missed most of your presentation, Marlene and Fred, but thanks for being here tonight. This is kind of a neat, exciting project. About a year and a half ago, we drove through that property and with our CAO and the past councillor, and we said, wow, this is a bit of a gem of a property here. And I just pretty excited to see that we've thought of something. So hats off to you for bringing this forward, and also for staff to say, hey, I think we have the property for you. I'm sure Ms. Hendry mentioned that, and it is. I didn't see the whole presentation, but I've done disc golf a few times, and I've watched it, the tournaments, and I just caught the tail end of it. So the 7th hole looks pretty long, and that's something that's a gem to have in a 9-hole course too. So I think this is great, and looking forward to moving forward on this. And yeah, like there's plenty of opportunity to reach out to the community, the corporate community as well, and see this move forward. And one thing you do have to remember, it's a sport. So, you know, I like the idea of, hey, we can maybe have, you know, 3 or 4 holes that are handicap accessible, and they can do that instead of the whole course or whatever, right? So there's a lot of potential here. And what you do have to remember is it's when you're doing this, you're going over ground, and it's just like golf. There's going to be times where you're stepping and walking where you got to be careful, right? So it's definitely interesting to see and exciting to see this coming together, and looking forward to seeing it actually come into fruition, and especially on that property there. There's a lot of potential. So, and it's good for the Wellingport community. So thanks for bringing this forward. Looking forward to it happening.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Jonker. Anybody else? Don't see any. I just wanted to say thank you, Mrs. Bergsma and Mr. Brookelman. Thank you for coming and presenting this evening. I think you know, I'm sort of in the consensus of council over here that you know, it's a good idea for Wellingport. I'll need some practice with the frisbee. I could probably do it with the soccer ball, but not a frisbee. So I'm going to need some practice with that. But But it's a good thing, and hopefully it all goes well. Again, I'd like to thank you for your presentation this evening. You're more welcome to stay, but we are moving on, and it's up to you if you'd like to endure the rest of our meeting, but you don't have to. But I'd like to say thank you for your presentation this evening, and it was much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for your leadership and willingness to partner with us. So I'm going to take my leave, but we're grateful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so moving on, anybody to request any items on the agenda? Seeing no hands, moving on to consent agenda items. Item A18-21, consent agenda items. The recommendation that items number 1, 2, and 3 be hereby for information for the exemptions, for the exceptions of number 1, our Joint Accessible Advisory Committee, January 14th, 2021 minutes. Information report T08-2021, statement of remuneration and expenses for 2020, and number 3, information report WLFD 06-2021, the monthly update February 2021. So I'm looking for a mover and a seconder for this. Anybody want to pull anything? I got Councillor Gannon, Councillor Broderick. I see Councillor Gannon's there. She'd like to pull item number 3.
Please.
So I'd like to move, sorry, just to help me out over here. I'd like to pull number 3 as Councillor Gannon. I'd like to vote on number 1 and number 2 separately. So I had the mover, seconder was Councillor Gannon, Councillor Broderick. All those in favor? For number 1 and number 2? And that's carried. Item number 3, Councillor Gannon, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the chief. Dennis, we've had this conversation before, but I had another phone call today asking about the fire siren. So probably because it was a little bit busy on the weekend, but about every couple of months, I get a phone call or an email or both, and people are very concerned about the length of time and how, not so much how often it goes, but just why does it have to still go in this day and age? And so realizing that it's really good with the school so close that at least some warning is given to our crossing guards when school is in. I'm just wondering if you have ever had a discussion about having it go during school hours, half hour before the crossing guards need to be there until half hour after school is out or some such thing. I've connected to the fire department for enough years. I realize that there's a great importance of allowing people to know what's up in town when those guys are rolling or when the trucks are rolling. But the questions keep coming over and over again. So I guess I'm looking to see if you are having discussions with your guys and your staff with Tim about modifying it in any way.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Gannon. Certainly thank you for the question. It's not uncommon to get comments about the siren.
I know.
Unfortunately, with the amount of new people that have moved into the urban core, there's certainly a lot of questions that come about the siren. Having said that, Tim and I have had some brief discussions about turning down the number of rotations in the siren the way it goes. I think it's at 10 or 12 right now. But we can certainly go back and sit at the table and certainly discuss, what important times of the day is appropriate and what times are beneficial for us. Certainly, as you had stated earlier, that, certainly first thing in the morning and at school time at night is certainly a critical time now that we have an elementary school across the road from us.
Absolutely.
So, you're absolutely right as far as, being beneficial times there. So I can sit with Tim and we can have some discussions and I can come back with, something to committee, in next month or in a couple of months and have discussions on how we want to move forward.
Just one further question along the same idea. Have you ever had that same discussion with other small municipalities that still have sirens? Like, do you know what any of the others are doing?
The only one that I know of right now, without having to pool, is Grimsby still does theirs a little bit. I'm just not sure on the time frame.
Okay. Well, I would really appreciate if you could find out more about what others are doing and at least have that discussion. And then I will have some better answers in terms of what I tend to do with fairly new residents is tell them how it used to be 24/7. And it makes this sound not so bad, the hours that it's running now, but I can understand that there is a concern if that's something that you're not used to. So thank you for looking into that. I'll appreciate hearing more later.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Ganan. I got Mr. Mayor, then followed by Councillor Riley. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And just I know probably for every concern that I hear, whenever I see it raised social media or I get an email, I probably also get the equal and opposite. For those longtime residents of West Lincoln, it's a bit of a nostalgia. So it is appreciated still as well. And I think that just draws from that community mindedness, community spirit. People see it as kind of a call to mind that we're in this all together a little bit. So it's not all bad. I always find that discussion interesting when it does come up, but again, it's that little bit of that interplay between the longtime residents and some of the newcomers who come to town and just need to get used to it. For many of us, it's second nature. I just wanted to get that on the record there, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Riley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just to kind of make comments on to what Councilor Ganan mentioned. I do same. I hear from people. Oh man, it must probably every few weeks, if not more. And I think that the biggest issue is the duration of the ring. And I know one particular resident who reaches out to me regularly. Their husband is an EMS worker and he works shift work. So a lot of times he's trying to sleep during the day. So even though this would be, if that was possible to shorten it down, is it going to work for everybody? Maybe not. If we could, maybe do like hypothetically, like a 9 to or an 8:30 to 5 or whatever, like anything would be definitely received well. But I think this also connects also to our concerns I hear about, the train was still going through the town, and as I know Mayor Balesman mentioned, some people come in who aren't used to it, and some of us have become desensitized to it and we just accept it. But it's if we can make any tweaks on it, I think anything would be better than nothing. But we definitely hear our fair share of concerns and complaints. In fact, my brother actually moved not too far from where the fire station is, and I couldn't believe, like, when he called me to ask me, like, does that happen all the time? And I'm just like, did you not see the fire station when you moved in? Like, I kind of laughed at him. But at the same time, I understand you're not really seeing that or thinking that, the sirens aren't in every community. So I respect that and I understand that. But even to hear, like, my own brother kind of mention it, I couldn't help but have a chuckle. But it's certainly something we hear regularly. So anything will come back, whether it's 2, 3, 4 months from now, anytime we can kind of have a chance to revisit, that'd be wonderful. So thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Chief. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Jonker, go ahead.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with this report here, but I just thought I'd mention to you, through you, Mr. Chair, to our chief and to the guys there. We met them the other day at a place where you don't want to meet a fire department at a house, and good friends of ours are dealing with a big mess. But at the same time, the professionalism, what the fire department did there is definitely appreciated, Mr. Chief, and I was like you to pass that on. Even just one fire guy reaching into the house to grab some pictures goes a long way. So just thought I'd pass on to you there that we appreciate what you guys do, and didn't like to see you there on Saturday, but was glad that you were there and were able to do what you could there. So just wanted you to pass that on to the guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Jonker. I just got a few comments on the siren. I'm a little old school at times. I like the siren. I think, it's that old school touch for the community. I get it. People are working shifts and society has been a little busy with, obviously people working on both hours of the clock. But I hope the siren does stay to some degree. I like that old school touch of the community, and I feel like this society, we're losing a lot of our old ways, and we're moving on to new and improved and better. But some stuff that's old, I still like. So I hope it stays to some degree. So when you do have that consultation, Chief, maybe you want to shorten the hours, maybe just keep a little 15-minute or 10-minute window in the day for me, I guess. 11 to 11:15 if you can. Thank you. That's all the comments I had for that. So if there's nothing else for number 3, I need a mover and a seconder for number 3 was Councillor Ganan, Councillor Jonker. All those in favor?
Ford.
And that's carried. Moving on, item A19-21, Honorable Minister Stephen Clark, the Ministry of the Municipal Affairs and Housing, letter of 2021, the Virtual Rural Ontario Municipal Association, ROMA, the conference delegation, COVID-19 impacts on the municipality and loss of revenues, and that's for information purposes. So I need a mover for that.
No.
Oh, no, I don't. Sorry. No, my mistake. Sorry, my mistake. I'll move on. That's for information purposes, for your reading pleasures there. And then I got item A20-21, Honorable Stephen Clark, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, a letter 2021 COVID-19 recovery funding of municipalities program support for COVID-19 operating costs and pressures, and that's for information as well. Moving on to item A21-21, Mr. John Pegg, the Ontario Fire Marshal, a memo and application for the fire safety grant. And the recommendation reads that the memo dated March 11th, 2021 from John Pegg, Ontario Fire Marshal, regarding the announcement of a one-time fire safety grant to assist in municipal fire in addressing challenges associated with the training and virtual inspections due to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as to advise the Township of West Lincoln is eligible to receive up to $8,100 as a part of the grant program be received, and that the Township of West Lincoln Fire Chief be hereby authorized to complete and submit the fire safety grant application form by no later than March 19th, 2021, as well as any other documentation necessary as a part of the grant process, and that the fire chief be authorized to determine the best use of the funding as outlined in the above noted memo, being either on.
Done here shortly.
You okay with that, Chief? Sorry. Being either both on 2 property areas, and that the recommendation be approved prior to the ratification of council in order for the fire chief to include council's endorsement as a part of the township's fire safety grant application and submission. So I need a mover for that. Councillor Jonker, seconded by Councillor Riley. Any comments or questions on this? Sorry, you startled me there, Chief. I got a little startled. I heard your voice there for a second, so I kind of messed myself up for a bit.
The chair, if I could just make a quick comment. The reason that it went on to committee the way it is the deadline is this Friday for the grant application. Unfortunately, they left us a very small window. I think it was like 6 days. So unfortunately, it's before you tonight. I sit with Deputy Chief Hofsink tomorrow to decide on which way we're going to go, either to training or prevention or both, and then hope to have it submitted by the end of the day tomorrow to get it in before Friday.
Okay, great. So seeing no other comments or questions, I had the mover with Councillor Jonker, seconded by Councillor Riley. All those in favor of the grant? And that's carried. Moving on to item A22-21, Treasurer Director of Finance, Donna DeFilippis, recommendation report to T09 2021 corporate sponsorships and cemeteries and hall board grants. Reads the recommendation report to T09 2021 regarding 2021 corporate sponsorships and cemetery and hall board grants dated March 15, 2021 be received, and that the corporate sponsorships and the cemetery and hall board grants of 2021 be recommended in this report be approved. And I need a mover for that. Mr. Mayor, seconded by Councillor Bradrick. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Favor.
And that carries. Moving on to item A23-21, Treasurer Director of Finance, Ms. Dawn DeFilippis, recommendation report T-10 2021, new account with cash management group. The recommendation that report T-10 2021 regarding new account with cash management group dated March 15, 2021 be received, and that staff be given the authority to open an account with cash management group. I need a mover for that. Somebody's hand. Okay, Councillor Gannon and Councillor Yonker, comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Vote.
And that carries. Moving on into other business. Sorry, hold on 1 second. I just got some papers here. So we'll read first, Madam CAO, item A24-21, employee professional accomplishments. Number one, that Caitlin Hall, the Deputy Treasurer, completion of AMCTO Municipal Accounting and Finance Program, MAFP Unit 1, Introduction to Municipal Accounting and Finance Reporting. Madam CAO.
Thank you very much. It's been a long time since we've been able to report on something like this, so it's quite exciting to be able to make sure that we're demonstrating our staff's ability to keep going and growing. And we're very proud of Caitlin for finishing up that section of the MAFP Unit 1 program. These are all great. The AMCTO programs are excellent and really will equip our staff, as always, for doing the best in their job. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Madam CAO. Just wanted to just double check something here. Okay, so we're still under other business. Item A25-21, members of committee, verbal updates from any members of the boards or committees if required. Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Just briefly wanted to highlight that there's a fundraiser pancake dinner for Gleaners on Wednesday night at Silverdale Hall. So just highlight that one. And I will be taking a short turn in the kitchen as well. But just make everyone aware of that. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for those comments. Anybody else? Moving on to item A26-21. Any members of council, other business of items of an informative nature? Seeing no hands, we're going to move on to new business. And there is one item on new business. It's not on your agenda there, but this is item that's brought forward by Councillor Riley. This is item 11.1. It's by Councillor Riley, a property matter, confidential IT matter. The above resolution is that Councillor Riley is bringing forward as noted above. So we'll need a mover and seconder. This is a resolution for us to go into closed because that's to discuss with an IT a security of the property of the municipal of local boards. So we have a verbal update that's going to be in confidential by Mrs. DeFilippis. So I need a mover and a seconder to go into closed for this. Councillor Riley, Councillor Yonker,
Right.
Councillor Rayner, do you have something to add there? Sorry. You're on mute, Councillor.
I said I would second that motion, but that's fine.
Okay, thank you. So seeing that we have, sorry, Councillor Riley, go ahead.
So, Mr. Chair, I just want to confirm with the clerk, do we need to bring this new item forward first, vote on it first, and then based on that outcome, then we go into closed? Is that what I'm understanding? Because I think you might be accidentally skipping a step.
I might
So
be
make
up.
sure we're doing it correctly. So maybe we could just confirm with
Yeah.
the clerk.
Yeah, yes, that's correct, Councillor Riley, or through you to the chair. Yes, correct. You're correct, Councillor Riley.
Okay.
This is to introduce a new item of business, being a IT matter to be held in confidential.
Okay.
Okay.
So
that's
what we
have the mover and
you
seconder
need the mover and
vote on
seconder
that.
and vote on, yes.
Okay.
So we vote on that first, and then from there, on that outcome, that would be the second part, which is what the above resolution comment was.
Correct.
So again, the new item of business is to be introduced being a confidential IT matter to be discussed in a closed session of the property. So I had a mover, which was Councillor Riley and Councillor Yonker, but Councillor Ganan, did you have something?
No, I was just going to offer to vote to bring the resolution forward to introduce a new item of business. And then I thought you already had a mover and seconder to go into close. So it doesn't matter how you do that. We just need to have two sets.
Okay, so one, so one for the new item of business that to bring that forward, that was Councillor Riley, Councillor Jonker. And now I need all those in favor to bring a new item of business forward. And that's carried. And then the second one would be note to bring this item forward, the new item of business, introduce a confidential IT matter to be discussed in closed session of the township matter. Do I need a mover for that? Councillor Ganan, a seconder? Councillor Rayner? All those in favor?
Or
And that's carried. So I guess, yeah, go ahead.
Here, just to remind everybody, this is a security of a property matter, and that's why we're going into closed.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now, do we log off and go into the other email that we have in our page, or we stay here, or what's the?
No, we have to log off and go into the secured confidential Zoom, which Roberta sent to everybody just during the meeting.
Does everybody have that just before we go?
Yeah. Also, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Sorry, I just wanted to make note that if there is anybody in attendance from the public, they can remain on this call, but we will be coming back to this call once we're done the confidential.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I don't see the email
For the confidential portion?
to get into the confidential.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why can't we do public works first to get it over with?
It just came.
I got it.
Just came
I got
through
it,
right
Mr.
now.
Chair.
I refreshed the screen.
Councillor Rayner, yeah, maybe we could have done that, but we didn't have a motion to change any orders of items on the agenda first, so we're gonna have to do it this way. See you guys over there. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have the mayor, Madam CAO. We have missing anybody else? Am I missing anybody else? Don't. Okay, so we don't have any other. We got a confidential back into open session, and there's nothing other new business to report. So it's pretty straightforward. I'll adjourn the meeting at 8:11. Thank you. Now, do we stay on this one? Or we go into we stay on this one for Public Works? Perfect, Roberta.
Yes,
See the mayor
thank you.
shaking his head.
Yep.
Pass it over to the Chair of Public Works, Councillor Jonker, with the nicest suit tonight. You got the floor, sir.
Thank you. Hopefully I got it in the right order here. Page 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the agenda.
We have to close out admin though, just so you know, Councillor Jonker.
Pardon me?
We have to adjourn admin. We haven't formally adjourned admin yet.
Yeah, I think he did.
We come out of closed,
Yep.
which was moved by Councillor Rayner and seconded by the mayor. So we now resume in open session, and now we just need to the chair just needs to close off the meeting for adjournment. And then we
I
can
think he
start
did.
public works.
You might have missed that. So
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't hear it.
That's okay. So I'll just I'll double up there. Just so there's nothing out of confidential. So I'll adjourn the meeting at 7:13 p.m.
What? 7?
8:13.
Oh, sorry, my computer didn't update here. Sorry, 8:13 p.m. Sorry, the time change. The time change didn't update on the bottom of the computer here. Sorry, Councillor Rayner, there. My mistake.
Living
8:13.
in the
Sorry,
past. Living in the past.
sorry. 8:13. Councillor Jonker, floor is yours.
So yes, welcome to meeting number 3 of the Township of West Lincoln Public Works Recreation Arena Committee. on November 15th, 2021. Due to efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19 and to protect all individuals, the council chamber will not be open to the public to attend standing committee and council meetings until further notice. The public may submit comments for matters that are on the agenda to jscime@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Comments submitted will be considered as public information and read into public record. The meeting will be recorded and available on the township's website within 48 hours of the meeting. Is there any change in order of items on the agenda? Seeing none, any disclosure of pecuniary interest and or conflict of interest? Okay, seeing none, there are no appointments or presentations as the one was made at the beginning of the last committee meeting, at the beginning of this evening. If there is, Madam Clerk, have you received any email or correspondence from a member of the public prior to 4:30 p.m. today that wishes to provide comments to any items on the agenda as permitted by section 10.13(5) of the procedural bylaw?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, good. All items listed will go to consent agenda items. All items listed below are considered to be routine and non-controversial and can be approved by one resolution. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests it, in which case the item will be removed from the consent resolution and considered immediately following adoption of the remaining consent agenda items. And items are of PW-07-21 that the Public Works Recreation Arena Committee hereby approves the following consent items. Items 1 and 2B and are hereby received for information with the exemption of items and the number 1, West Lincoln Public Library Board, February 12th, 2021 minutes and information report rec. So that's REC-02-2021. That's the West Lincoln Community Center and Recreation Services COVID-19 update. Do I need a mover and a seconder for that? Mr. Mayor and Councillor Ganan as seconder. Thank you. Does anybody wish to remove anything? Seeing none, are all those in favor?
Or
And that passes. Communications, we have one. That is Honorable Minister Mulrooney Township, Ministry of Transportation regarding a letter regarding the delegation of 2021 Virtual Rural Ontario Municipal Association, so that's ROMA conference, regarding the North-South Escarpment Crossing. And that is to be received for information. Is that correct? Yes. So we don't need a mover or anything for that, do we? Good. We'll move on to staff reports. And there's 2 staff reports. We'll deal with item PW09-21. That's Director of Public Works and Recreation, Mike DePaula, regarding recommendation report. That report, REC-03-2021. It's regarding Canada Health Communities Initiative application with the Wellandport Disc Golf Course dated March 15th, 2021 be received for information, and 2, that council endorses the construction of a 9-hole disc golf course at the Wellandport Community Center property, subject to the approval of Canada Health Communities Initiative funding application. Can I have a mover for that? Councillor Bajic and seconder, Mr. Mayor. Do we have anybody that wishes to discuss this? I see Councillor Trombetta and then Councillor Rayner after that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a good presentation that was put on in administration. It was more informative is what I wanted to see. Just through you, Mr. Chair, to Director of Public Works. In the report, we noticed that looks like with the contingency and everything that's laid out is a total cost of $75,000 to do this. Now, this is based on a grant that hopefully we're hoping to achieve to get the grant so we can take place and go forward with this. Obviously the grant hasn't been issued yet, or there's no cost of a grant that's being received. What is the budget that's for the grant? Is it going to cover the 75,000, or are they going to come back with 5,000 and we got to put $70,000 of our money in for this? That's my question for you, Mr. Chair, to the director.
Yeah, Mr. Director, go ahead.
Through the chair to Councillor Trombetta. Yeah, the grant application is for the whole 75%. So the funding is 100%. The municipality will not be on the hook for any funds if this grant gets approved. As mentioned in the report, the application deadline was March the 9th. So we went ahead and applied, and we'll be hearing the results and whether or not our grant is successful on April the 30th. And around that time. So I'll report back then. Even if we are not successful, we do have an opportunity to submit the same application again for the second intake. So perhaps that'll be something we could consider if we don't get accepted on the first intake.
Well, I hope we have luck with that. I saw a black cat walk by. I don't know if we have any luck with that at all right now, but I saw a black cat. Anyways, just through you, Mr. Chair, to Director of the Paula, you asked for 100% of the value which you just stated. That's for the whole total. And then once you hear, again, I know that's what you asked, but and if we don't get that total, I guess we're gonna have to report back to council to have an agreement to see how we're gonna fund, if we're gonna fund the rest of this disc golf.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Trombetta. Yeah, that would be our intentions is we would only be proceeding with this project if the grant application is successful. And I'll report back once we hear back from them, and then we'll see what this committee, how you like to proceed.
Okay, great. Thank you for that report, Mr. Director. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me speak.
Problem. Thank you. Councillor Rayner, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, and then after you, Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Trombetta basically asked the questions that I was concerned about, and I thought through you to the Director of Public Works, I was under the impression that this project was a go so long as it was funded by this grant in its entirety. Is that not true? That was what I believe basically you said, did you not?
And through the chair to Councillor Rayner, yeah, you broke up there, but I think I heard you say it would only proceed if the grant gets approved.
Correct.
Correct. That's correct.
That's correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, I thought this is a good project, but this project was supposed to be funded hopefully by grants, and that's what we're hoping for right now. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's not because we didn't try. And you say if we don't succeed the first time, we can try again?
Yes, there's a second intake that we're allowed to reapply for the same project if we do, if we would like to proceed that way. Yeah.
So there's two good chances that we could get the money. That's good. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, you had your hand
Yeah, I
up.
think this is excellent and a great opportunity. And I just wanted to thank staff for going after these grants. I don't think I've ever seen so much grant applications. It's really awesome to see that we're able to, cover the work and some of these perks, some of these, whether it's the library or the roads or whatever, we're going after the grants, and I'm pleased to see that this could be a benefit to our community without a direct cost for the municipality. So great, good work, and kudos to staff.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, Councillor Riley, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just thought I know I made my comment before to the presenters, but just thought I'd make it, I guess, here officially on this this agenda. Yeah, I think it's a wonderful opportunity. I think it's going to be, hopefully we're successful, and I think it's going to be utilized really well. I will restate my concern on concept 7. I certainly, obviously, so maybe I have a question for the director in a second, but I would like to see maybe if we could just leave that area alone. That'd be my personal preference anyways. So that way we don't have to worry about the boats and traffic coming in and out. Might be a nice area to maybe put a few more picnic benches down the road, and then you keep the whole upper part and the main core of it accessible. But obviously, so my question to you, Mr. Chair, the Director of Public Works, is what I'm guessing. I understand from what I read here, the township has final say on everything. What has really been discussed beyond that? I know Marlene had mentioned a few times have been in conversations with you guys, and at least from the presentation there, looks like you guys are really behind this as well. So I'm just kind of curious, like if they have to make some adjustments and tweaks, is that something that you guys are reviewing, or is it kind of just we're letting them kind of like present something and then you'll just kind of, I guess, after the fact, make your comments? I'm just trying to figure out what part are you guys really involved in this planning stage.
Through the chair to Councillor Riley, yeah, the students are going to go ahead and put together a conceptual layout of the holes, but at the end of the day, it's the township and our staff that are going to have the final say on how we want the course laid out. So we're going to work collaboratively with the students, and stuff that you pointed out, boat traffic and vehicle traffic along the pathway. It'll be our opportunity it'll be staff's opportunity to basically educate these students on what they should be looking for. Just like the comments that Councillor Bradrick made about accessibility, yeah. Right? It's our opportunity to kind of mentor and coach the students. So the few things that a couple of the councillors have pointed out, we will ensure that, at the end of the day, we accept the course that makes sense, and also take this as an opportunity to educate the kids in that manner as well.
Excellent. Again, I think that's such an incredible opportunity for the community as well as for those kids. So I think they're going to learn a great deal. So anyways, thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all my questions.
Okay, thank you. Any other further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that passes. Sorry, Councillor Trombetta, did you vote, or? All those in favor? Yes, sorry. That everybody voted in favor.
Sorry, I forgot to get in there
Yes.
quick enough. You're right. Thank you.
No problem. Thankfully, the siren didn't go off too long. I was like, oh, really? You got to be joking. The siren just went off, but it's already done. So perfect timing to have a question and let the director answer that. So, okay, good. Moving on to item PW 10-21 regarding its manager of parks, recreation and facilities, Bob Dennison, and director of public works and recreation, Mike DiPaolo. That report REC-04-2021 regarding 2021 cemetery maintenance contract request for proposal authorization dated March 15th, 2021 be received, and 2, that council awards the request for proposal contract to George Lane Landscaping for a 5-year term in the total amount of $242,000 plus HST, and number 3, that a bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with George Lane Landscaping. Can I have a motion? Councillor Ganan is first, and seconder, sorry. Councillor Bradrick. Any questions or comments? Councillor Rayner, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Mr. DiPaolo. The cemeteries under Mr. Lane, it's a 5-year contract. How long have the contracts been going on for?
Go ahead.
Through the chair to Councillor Rayner, I think the previous contract was also for 5 years, previous to this one.
Yes, it was. It was 5 years. That was in the report. Yeah.
Okay, the reason I'm asking, there used to be a committee, when I first got elected in 2003, I sat on the cemetery board, both that term and the next term. I was on it for 7 years. The Lanes were involved in it. They'd done a tremendous amount of work on the cemeteries. We had something like 17 active at that time and a number that the churches looked after. Since then, a number of churches had closed, including the one recently in Abington in Concession 5 in the southeast corner. And we inherited a few. There's another one in Bismarck, I believe we inherited. So I think, how many cemeteries are we up to now? 21, 22?
Yeah, through the chair to Councilor Rayner, I believe it's 21. Yes.
The Lanes have done a tremendous job, very respectful. And even when some of the stones are to the point where they're going to fall or they have fallen, they go out there and they fix them and they put them right. They put the footings back in, they do everything. This family's been doing this for many years. Back then, they didn't have contracts. It was basically, I believe it was on a yearly basis. But this certainly is the right group to be doing this. They've got so many years' experience. And they've done such a phenomenal job on bringing some of the cemeteries that were in pretty rough shape back then when just the turn of the century, and really fix them up, because a lot of them we have here are like over 100 years old, and the stones they start to go, or vandals or whatever the case may be. We've had that too, but they've certainly done a tremendous amount of work to really make them what they should be, and that is a very respectable place when you go to them. So I'm all in favor. I think this is fantastic that they're coming back, and I appreciate all the hard work they've done over the past years. Thank you.
Thank you. I just got one question to you, Director. In the report there, it says you go on a 75% technical and 25% cost. Can you maybe just explain what that technical, like what the 75% technical is to the public? Is that a fair question to ask you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, this was put out as an RFP, a request for proposal. A lot of multi-year contracts are done that way, as opposed to a tender, like a lot of construction jobs or tenders where your bidders basically know exactly what they're bidding on. You know, so much tons of stone and so much, cubic meters of concrete. This is a maintenance service contract. So in order to get best value for money, cost is only 25% of the final score in this RFP call. And the other 75% is technical, and it's basically, the company's resources, technical expertise, maybe previous project experience was another factor, past performance records on similar projects. Proponents had to prove to us that they had the recognized cemetery training, the mythology, maybe their local experience. So it's a whole bunch of different factors. They're all weighted differently. And then there's a team of 3 staff members that review the proposal and come up with consensus scoring. So in an RFP, it's the highest score that gets awarded the contract, not necessarily the lowest price. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, yes, it does. And I was actually going to mention the cemetery thing there, just so people can understand, right? They do have to be approved to work in cemeteries, which they are. So that's good. No, good answer. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that passes. I keep messing up my pages here, but we'll be okay. Moving on to, wow, other business already. I do have a request from our COA. So this is item PW 1111-21. Any other business items of an informative nature, and our CAO would like to, she texted me, so and then I see Councillor Ganan has her hand up. So Madam CAO, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure that this committee was aware of the fact that our West Lincoln Community Center it will be one of the vaccination sites. Each of the 12 lower tier municipalities have identified sites, and the Westland Community Center is site for West Lincoln. And you will have seen today that the first active date of vaccination is going to be April 1st. And then slowly we'll learn about new dates. This is information we don't have yet. And as I get that information, I will make sure the council is advised.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ganan, you had your hand up next, and then go to Councillor Trombetta after that. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. No, I do. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I did not pull the library minutes because they were February minutes, but we did have a meeting on Friday, and I thought that I would just give an update because it will be old by the time these minutes get to our next meeting. So one of the things that staff did was actually to keep stats the first week that we were in red, and they were quite pleased actually with the interaction. So I thought that I would share that because I know there's been some discussion around our table and in the community even about how much the library is or is not being used while we're under COVID conditions. So during the first week of being open in red, there were 102 curbside pickups. And keep in mind, that's March 1st to 6th, so Monday to Saturday. There were 71 browsing appointments where people were eager to get back in and actually look for books on their own. So they made those appointments and came in to look. And there were 6 people who just came in to use computers that needed to access for very personal reasons and don't have their own computers. And of course, that's one of the reasons that we were happy to have the computer bank that we do in the township. And so the other thing I wanted to mention deals with computers, and that is that the library has had a pretty good website up and running for a period of time, but it has not worked as well on mobile devices. And so Lauren Mouse, who is our IT person at the library, has been working on getting that up to date, and she's been working on it for a period of time, and it actually went live March the 11th. And so if you were to check out the library website on your mobile device, then you would find that you have better access to the things that are there. And the other thing, third thing still about library is that this is the March what's going on in the library. This is their program and the various things that they're doing, whether they're online or in person or activities for various ages and groups. And so our new interim CEO is going to send out future emails to councillors as well. Now they will come to your township email when that's set and going. In the meantime, if you see this, that's why it's coming to you, just so that if residents happen to ask what's going on, it includes all 3 of the libraries. So it doesn't matter where you are a councillor, you will be able to give some advice about what's going on in the local hours, the local libraries and what their hours are. So that's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for that update. Yeah, because it is amazing, right? Months pass quickly by and we don't hear anything. So thanks for that update. Councillor Trombetta, you had your hand up, I believe. Go ahead.
Yes, I did. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Madam CAO. I know we were talking about the vaccination site. Some people in this council may not be aware, but people that live in Casterville, they're deep in Casterville. Councillor Rayner should know this as well. He does, which I'm quite sure he does. They do come up as the address of Canfield. And they're getting pinged to Haldeman. So I had some concerns of them wanting to get lined up for be a part of our vaccination program, but because they're in the deep Casterville, they're pinging up as Haldeman. They're afraid they won't be recognized by public health. It's an interesting question. I don't know if everybody is aware of that, but I know some members of council who live in this community are aware that Casterville draws you to Canfield. I didn't know how to respond because obviously I don't work for public health. Do they just come there with their tax bill? Because there's nothing on their licenses that show West Lincoln because it's pinging them to Canfield. So, but they live in West Lincoln. If you could help me out with that answer, Madam CAO.
Okay, through you, Councillor Yonker, to Councillor Trombetta. I don't know the answer to that question specifically, but we are having a meeting tomorrow morning with a region public health staff member regarding some of these issues. So I'll make sure that I raise that tomorrow. But you do know that all of the registrations are done through the provincial registration site.
Correct, but they can't go to Niagara because it's not recognizing them.
Oh, is that so? Okay, thank you. Okay.
That's the point, because
On the
it's pinging them.
registry, yeah, okay.
They are West Lincoln, but it pings them to Canfield because of their address. So I saw Council Ganan's hand up. Maybe she can weigh in a bit here. So it's like she understands where I'm
Have an
coming
answer,
from.
Maybe Councillor Ganan, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Similarly, what we have in town even is some of our residents at Legion Villa doctor in the Dunville area because they used to live out in the country before they moved into the villa. And so the same thing is happening to them. If their doctor happens to be in Haldeman, then they are being directed, even through their doctor's office, to go to Simcoe, to some kind of a clinic there. And so the fact that we have all of these bordering communities and they're not necessarily Niagara is causing a bit of concern. And so I had a phone call about that, and then a further one on Saturday, a discussion with another lady. So I think that's really worthy of discussion, Bev, tomorrow with Niagara Regional Public Health or whoever you're speaking with, because we do have all these borderline communities and everybody wants to do the right thing and go to the right place, and they don't want to be turned down. So it is a bit of a conundrum.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Madam CEO, sorry, Mr. Chair, through Madam CEO, if we can just get some information so I didn't know how to respond back to that question. So
In all, I don't think that we, there's still, these are good things to raise because I don't know if anybody else went to the website today to try to navigate it and had issues with the registration. There's lots of bugs that yet need to be worked out. So that's all I can do at this point is try to bring it to their attention, and even if they were to call their doctors, I bet you they couldn't get an answer out of their doctor's offices either.
well,
It's a challenge, that's for sure. And sorry, just even up north, there's been in Orangeville area, there's a lot of So it's tough for everybody, right? To get everything rolled out, every region to get things organized, and then everything connecting and flowing. So hopefully we can get things figured out, but it's definitely, it's challenging times. So hopefully we can get something from the higher ups on how to deal with this, right? So
Yeah, thank you.
good.
thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll follow up with you, Madam CAO, through email just to find out where we stand on that so I can get back to that resident. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just text her. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Rayner, so you're go ahead.
Yes, I always watch the news at 6 o'clock, the Hamilton News, and they were on there saying they have a whole bunch of problems trying to register people. And the system went down, and they interviewed our one illustrious premier today, and he said he's got the best brains in the country, the best technical people on this, and it's going to be a flawless thing. And then when a reporter said, "Do you know your system went down?" He didn't even know.
Yeah, well, it's hard to keep up.
As we finish this meeting, he says, "I'm going to go right and make a phone call and get this corrected." They said within an hour afterwards, the system went back up again.
Yeah.
So just to let you know.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, right? So, okay. Any other new business items?
No.
Mr. Mayor, sorry.
So this is new business, or are you still on
Yeah.
other business?
Yeah, we're on other business. Sorry. Yes.
Okay, I got a new business item.
Yes, I'm jumping ahead. So any other business? Anyways, we will move on to number 10 then. New business. And I believe the mayor had his hand up first. So go ahead, Mr. Mayor. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor. You're muted. Yeah.
Sorry, just you know how you put your mouse over it, and just as you release the button, it just slides over and misses. That's what happened there. Anyways, so just briefly, a little bit of history. There is the intersection of Highway 20 and 16 Road. There have been multiple accidents there in several months, and there was another one there today. So I'd like to ask staff to just hang on a second, just petition the region to do a safety assessment of that intersection. If there's a fault with that intersection, then then I think it just incumbent upon us to kind of review that and make sure that there hasn't been any serious injuries lately that I know of, but I understand there's a whole protocol for that. I did briefly speak to Director DePaula, and he just basically says
Point of order, Mr. Chair. I have a question here. Is put a motion to go into this? You kind of just jumped into explaining your
sorry.
situation. I don't even know what we're talking about other than.
That's
So
why
I just want to make sure we're doing this.
basically an intersection.
Like, I think we need to introduce it as a motion.
Go ahead, Mr.
Do I have the chairman? Do I have the
Yep.
floor still?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's an intersection safety review. I just want one conducted. I don't want to make a big deal about it at this point. I just, in your presence, I would like staff to review it. I don't think we need a motion. But
how can you ask for?
I don't know for sure, but anyway.
Do I have the floor?
Yes, you do.
Okay, thank you. Because I hear all this chirping.
Well, I call the point of order because we need clarification from the clerk if you can go forward, because we don't have a motion on the floor. So this is not being run procedurally correct from my understanding.
Motion to,
Madam Clerk, do you,
yeah, go to the clerk.
yes. Can you answer?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Mayor, we should probably have a motion to introduce a new item of business being directed to staff.
Fair enough.
And then we'll put the resolution on the table. Okay?
That's all very fair. I think just Councilor Riley just jumped the gun a little bit. I was.
You went into your explanation, Mr. Mayor. I'll do.
Okay,
respect.
so do we have a motion?
It will be a new
I would
item of
like-
business. Sorry.
A new item of business?
So that we can even talk about this.
Yes.
Right.
Councilor Riley, when you introduce a new item of business, you do a little bit of an explanation. That's
Yeah,
all.
I just did a new item of business on last agenda, Mr. Mayor, and that's not how we did it.
I think we did, but anyways,
No, we didn't, because we had to step back, because when we went into it, it was accidentally done incorrectly.
okay. So can we have a motion to, and I'm not sure how to word this,
I
that
can help you out there.
can you help us out here, Madam Clerk?
Yes, I can.
Thank
That a new item of business be introduced, being an intersection safety review for 16 Road and Region Road 20. And that's just to put the new item of business on the table to be discussed.
Okay, and do I have a motion? Yes.
Mover.
Council-
Mover.
A mover, sorry, I lost that. I kept like a mover and a seconder is Councillor, mover is Councillor Rayner, seconder is Mayor Bilsma. And all those in favor? And that passes. Okay, so just as a point of order, he was introducing it as what he wanted to do, so that's good. So we now know that he wants to talk about Highway 20 and 16 Road and have the staff recommend to the region to do a safety. So
That's
Mr.
all.
Mayor, is that's it?
That's
Okay.
it.
Do
Anybody else want to
you wanna
discuss
put-
that?
Sorry, I just want to note that, do you want a motion on the table to direct staff
Me
to
too.
contact the region for that
please.
safety review?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay, so we just need a seconder, please.
I'll second that.
It should come from
No, That's
the,
right, sorry, I can't. Councillor Ganan, you're seconding that? Thank
I
you.
can second that.
Good. Any further discussion needed? I don't think so. Councillor Trim,
Counselor, sorry, Mr. Chair, if you have a motion, you have to ask if there is discussion. So I know
Yes.
you think there is none, but there could be.
is there anybody who should discuss this further?
That's me. I had my hand up. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I drive that way every day. I see how that is a pretty steady intersection. But Mr. Mayor, I know you want staff. Do we need staff to lobby, or do you start the lobbying as you sit on the regional or with the regional Chair Witteveen with maybe the director?
Well,
to start the process? Like, why staff needs to send the letter when you both have the capability of sort of introducing it at the region, right? I'm just curious if you can help me
Okay.
out with that.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Mayor. I think we can answer.
I've never done this before. Yes, I have been on council for 6 years. I've never really gone through this process. It was 16 road, so it is half our responsibility, but generally speaking, and it was just a communication that I had with, like I said, the accident was this afternoon. That's what triggered it. There was one 3 weeks ago that my son actually witnessed there. So I spoke to the policeman on site. So then I approached Director DePaula, who said, it's really simple. It doesn't matter who does it. I figured this way we're all in the loop. The director said he would just kick it up to the region and they would do their assessment and report back to us. And that's all.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. I should have went to the director. You're right, Mr. Mayor. Like, could I ask, what is the usual, that is usually the proper procedure, just going through staff, through your expertise, Mr. Director, dealing with the region of these intersections?
Go ahead, Mr. Director.
Through the chair to Councillor Trombetta. Yeah, I think because it's an intersection of a regional road and a local road, I would think that, whoever the senior road authority is would probably take the lead on doing that safety review. So I think it'll be the region in this case. So, I think it probably makes sense if I reach out to the region and make mention that this council or this committee wanted a review on the intersection and see what they say.
Could have added another roundabout, but hey, anyways. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Director. Thank you.
Councillor Riley, I see you have your fingers up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, I just want to bring us back to what I was just saying about before, is that we needed to have a motion about this before we can go into coming out of a directive motion later. So I think that's where all the confusion lies. And I certainly don't want there to be any hostility because of the confusion. I just want to make sure that we're procedurally following it correctly. So again, Mr. Mayor, like, I meant no disrespect to you by any means. I just wanted you to understand that you were talking outside of even having anything on the table. So again, that's all I was trying to clarify.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think what he was trying to do was just explain what he wanted to put on that.
But we need to have the motion first. We need to actually have what we're talking about before we can talk about it. So we don't have to have an explanation. We just need an item, and then we go in and get a mover and seconder, and we talk about it like we do every other item.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Okay, any other comments on this intersection? I think I'm glad that it's been brought forward. My son actually had an accident there, but yeah, so it's good to see that other people notice that intersection it's got the funny angles. So we'll see what, and I think it's actually a good idea that it actually comes from our staff more so than just the reps of our region. So that's good to see. And so I guess what we have here is a motion to have staff reach out to the region to see if they can do a safety study on this intersection. And that, I have any other comments or questions on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that passes. Thank you. I do not see any confidential matters, so I believe that I can declare this meeting adjourned at the hour of, and I'm going to check my computer and my watch to make sure we're on the right time zone, 8:52. Thank you, everyone. Good night.